Good, good, good. Okay. This is the Town of Woodbridge regular monthly meeting of the Woodbridge Board of Finance for September 15th, 2016. And the first item on our agenda is public comments, and seeing nobody in the audience, I will move on to item 2. I'll throw this out to the 5 of us here. Normally we like to have everybody here for the election of the chairman and vice chairman. Would you want to postpone this till our next meeting, or you want to take care of it tonight? Doesn't matter.
I don't see any reason to postpone.
Okay. All right. So then I will accept nominations from the board for chairman.
I nominate Matt Giglietti for chair.
I second.
Okay. Are there any other nominations? All right. Then I'll make a motion that we close nominations. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All those in favor of Matt Giglietti, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I'm going to vote too. Okay. For vice chairman, I will nominate Sandra Stein. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Are there any other nominations? Okay. Hearing none. All those in favor of Sandy Stein as vice chairman, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. That was easy.
Congratulations.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
We're on a run here.
Was it a tough campaign? I can't log on to my email.
We gotta get going. Paul's got to leave. So we gotta move along here. Tony, Administrative Officer, Director of Finance Report.
Thank you. So I have your preliminary year-end results here. I'd like to go through them for a few minutes. I have attached a worksheet that you've seen in the past, which outlines our actual revenues and expenditures. I've got a few more entries to do, but it's pretty close for the year. So you can see the revenues budget to actual was a surplus of $166,000, and some of the highlights there include the other revenue, which is the amount of amity that we didn't use for the surplus. If you remember, we used some of it to fund Beecher, and so that's where a lot of that comes from. It's from the amity surplus. There's also taxes are pretty even. We're pretty close on taxes, considering it's $43 million. To have $10,000 left over is pretty close. So those are our highlights. Other departments were pretty close to budget. On expenditures, there's a expenditure surplus of $496,000. You'll see that at the bottom of the expenditure departments. And some highlights there include there's a vacant position for a portion of the year in the Board of Selectmen budget. Their insurance savings when we went out to bid was in general administration. It's about $29,000 there. The contingency account has a little under $80,000 left in it, and that's due to, which we'll talk about later, the funds that we had in contingency for the retroactive wages for employees. It's turned out to be less than what we had in the contingency, so there's a surplus there. In several accounts there was some utility savings. That's the center building is one. We had didn't use as much heating oil as we thought we would. In Public Works, there were some utility savings there. We also did very well with the new building. We used a lot less electricity and natural gas than we thought we would. That's part of that savings. There's also, it was a vacant position in Public Works for a good portion of the year, which saved some money there. And same with rec. You'll see rec department has a surplus of about $40,000. Most of that is vacant positions or seasonal positions that were not filled. And so that gives you a surplus of $496,000. And then we have our designation from fund balance. And so you'll see the actual surplus of revenues over expenditures is $358,000. Now, in addition to that, there were some POs from prior years. These are encumbrances in prior years, 2015, that were closed, that were not necessary, that were not used. And a lot of those were from the Board of Education. and that's 146,000. So you can see that gives us a fund balance of a little under $5.1 million, which is just about 11% of the expenditures for the year. So there's good news towards the end of the year. We were very conservative, and we track a lot of this stuff closely, and so that's where we are projecting.
And just to repeat, because you didn't really say it that loud, Tony, we provided all this service to the town, and we still have an 11% fund balance. So that's terrific news. Terrific news. And again, yeah, it is. It's the result of
Departments
prudent financial management.
and the departments are very cooperative in not spending funds they don't have to.
Yep.
Yep.
As you can see, a lot of departments turn back money when they don't need to spend it.
So Tony, and there's no negatives in that column.
Well, because as we go out throughout the year, I make sure that each department has a positive
As he
return.
moves.
So either we do fund requests, or
The
do funds
transfers.
transfers, or I'll tell the department that you can't spend the money because you don't have it.
Right, so that's
And
well managed.
so our process has been that the funding has to be positive on the department level, as opposed to the line level. Sometimes within a department, there's lines that are negative.
Right.
But we've always gone under the process where the department has to be in a positive at the end of the year.
That's great.
It helps to keep things in control. It's a good control.
When was the last time we had a surplus in interest income?
I know.
Wow.
I can't believe it.
Wow.
I think we are very fortunate that we have departments who are so sensitive to the needs of all the town to provide the best services they can within their department, but being so mindful of all the residents too, with watching the bottom line and the cooperation between each other and with Tony and the administration is, I think, really it is remarkable. And sometimes we probably take it for granted because it runs so smooth. You don't even recognize how well it is, but I think they all are to be commended.
They do. Okay.
Okay.
Good news, Tony.
Thanks.
Status of our current year, last year's audit?
So I pretty much finished all the year-end entries. I should have a final trial balance by next week, and then the auditors are coming in second week of October to run testing and finish up the audit. It'll probably be in 2-3 weeks.
Okay. Proposed budget meeting dates, we have a list in front of us. Do you want some kind of a motion on this, Karen? You do? Okay. I will, again, you'll see a couple of the different ones. Of course, March 7th is very important when we do our budget, preliminary budget hearing, annual town meeting. So I will move acceptance of the proposed budget meeting dates for fiscal year 2018 as presented.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Okay. WBOE financial report. And I think we heard that there's about $20,000 because of special ed. But Bob Gilbert, I think, has indicated it's early in the year, so let's see what happens. So, not as bad as last year this time. Last year at the time we were staring at hundreds of thousands.
Correct.
So
Yeah.
this is much better. So, okay. Anything else?
No, that's it.
Okay. Funding requests.
I think I read.
The first is a line item transfer. The first two of these are last year, and the third one is this year. And this is to transfer revenue received from application fees to the expense account for payment of consulting fees. This is that traffic review that I guess
Right. Which they did perform.
they did it before before they pulled their application.
Correct.
So I will move acceptance of line item transfer 1516-23 in the amount of $3,300.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Okay. Next, Okay, we're gonna talk about this. So I'm gonna move acceptance of request for funding 1516-26 in the amount of $135,975.
Second.
Okay, Tony.
Yep. So the police contract has been approved by the union and by the town, and that's a 2.5% increase, which is retroactive to August 1st, 2015 for all police officers that are on payroll as of the signing of the contract. So as a result, that is a retroactive amount that's due. So I discussed this with Scott and explained our scenarios, and we still have some others to do. And his suggestion was to do a funding request to transfer these funds in the prior year to try to get the expenditures booked in the prior year. And so that's what this does. And this is what it does is even though it rolls it out to the rest of the town, you know, that's the assumption here. But it's just it encumbers so we can encumber the funds in the prior year.
So what does that do to kind of the year end that you just shared with us?
I assumed it in my figures.
You did?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's why if I didn't, then what would happen is the $135,000 would go back into last year's fund, so we'd have an additional surplus, and then the money would go into fund balance, and then you would have to either fund $135,000 out of the current year, if you know, or take it out of fund balance at some point.
Okay.
And so that's why I chose this course of action, and also it'll book the expenditures to the prior year, so it gives it a more accurate, because that's where they should have been to begin with, right?
We had talked about, that's why the contingency fund had this money in it.
Right.
Hopefully, it got settled, because if
Right.
it didn't get settled, then this wouldn't happen.
Correct.
But it got settled
Correct.
and approved by
Correct.
the Board of Selectmen.
Correct,
so-
correct.
so that's a done deal.
But we won't
We-
be able to do something similar with the remaining contracts that we have.
Well, this assumes, I mean,
Both?
it assumes both
Everything?
everything.
Oh,
Oh, yeah, there's a
so-
list,
I'm
there's a
sorry.
list of
Yeah,
everything.
there's a list of all the departments. So this assumes everything, and that's the assumption
yes.
that's built
You're
in.
right, you're right, you're right.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
And we also have a line item transfer. That's the first one of 16-17. And it's from fund balance to relocate a tower. Let's approve it, and then Tony can explain this to us. So I'll move acceptance of line item transfer 16-1701 in the amount of $27,687.67.
So just to, I just want to
Please
clear.
get a second.
Yeah.
I'll
Okay.
second it.
Okay.
Just to clarify, it's from the capital non-recurring fund.
Okay.
So as projects have balances in them from prior years, the funds then revert back to the fund balance in the capital fund, and so it's basically from appropriations from prior projects. And the project is to move the tower that's currently located at 125 Bradley Road, where we pay a rent of $700 a month, maybe. So a little over $700 a month, to 21 Bradley Road, which is free, and there's no charge to the town. And it's a much better facility. It's air conditioned. It's a much neater, better, improved facility. And in the process, replaces some equipment that is some of it's moved, some of it's replaced. It's improved communications.
We had a failure at the old
We
site.
did. We had a failure at the
Right.
old site. This new site should have backup to it.
So why didn't we move it there to begin with? Why was it?
It wasn't
not an
available
option
at that time.
At that time.
Yeah, and I guess there are new owners, or there's some new management at 21 Bradley Road that's now has allowed the fire department and police department to move the tower there.
I think it's Coachman Square, is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. They
It's on their
made a
property.
room available.
There's a room, yeah, they made a room
Yeah.
available at no charge.
That's amazing.
And it's air
Yeah,
conditioned,
it's very
and
nice.
it's all fire protected and everything.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so,
That's a nice
It's a
part.
no-brainer, I guess.
yeah,
Yeah.
Saving money and,
proving
okay. Anything else? All those in favor? Aye? Okay. So Tony, now so now we have 78,000, can't see that, it's so small.
So that's part of the surplus that's being returned.
Okay, so that's going back in, we talked about that.
So so contingency, this Board of Finance budget had an $80,000 surplus or thereabouts. 78 of it is from contingency.
Okay, good. All right, next.
So that's why we're at 11%.
Yeah, well, I know at the meetings, when people question contingency, I always let them know that, who knows what we're gonna need, but if money is left, it goes right back to the town, so it's not like.
We have conservative budgeting, we're very careful with our expenditures and with our encumbrances, and,
But having a
things happen.
contingency makes the budget workable in case of an emergency, so.
Right.
But we've always managed it well, and another good thing. Okay, approval of minutes. We have before us the minutes of our monthly meeting, which seems like an eon ago, on Thursday, July 21st. I'll move acceptance of the minutes of the Thursday, July 21st, 2016 meeting as presented.
Second.
Okay, any discussion, corrections, etc.? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye.
2
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay. Ellen?
Thank you, Matt. So since the last meeting, we've had some economic development news. We had a grand opening of Pappas Diagnostics on Hazel Terrace, which I attended. And I also visited the Palette Art Studio, which had opened sometime before that, but they had, we went to visit and to do an article about them. It's a wonderful place if you haven't been there. Very popular and well used. I also attended the EDC September meeting to discuss their priorities with them. They're talking about different things, and they're very interested in promoting better bus transportation to and from Woodbridge. Many of the businesses over on Research Drive in that area have employees coming in, so we talked about how to make that happen if at all possible. With respect to the Country Club of Woodbridge, Tony and I met with Roland Betts, who's doing the Redan Reserve proposal, and Ed Brockner, who's working with him. That was a follow-up to the Board of Selectmen meeting where we had talked about some negotiation strategies. And I also introduced Mr. Betts to Mayor Harp, because if this is going to go forward, it requires Yale's decision to go ahead, as well as the City of New Haven. So we had lunch together, and that went very well. Talks are ongoing since then, and at this time, the conversation is more focused on Yale, and we don't really have an update of anything substantive now. With respect to meetings and community events, I attended the concerts on the Green, the Volunteer Firemen's Picnic, the Greek Odyssey Festival at St. Barbara's Church in Orange, and the Massaro Farm Dinner. Also, I've been continuing awarding a certificate to Person of the Month. We have so many employees and volunteers in town who go above and beyond. We could probably do one every day, but we're doing one every month. So July was Andy and Tara Stack for their commitment and leadership at our community gardens. They've been spearheading and keeping it organized for years, and they do a beautiful job. And the Woodbridge Garden Club, also for the beauty they bring to the town. Some of their plantings at the library and at different spots is really spectacular. I attended the senior picnic for the senior center hosted by the Woodbridge Police Department. They had the chief and the deputy chief at the barbecue preparing lunch for the seniors. It was terrific. I met with Dr. Arnold. I don't know how many of you were aware of the Chestnut Grove at the Fitzgerald property, an experiment to see if they could find some strain that would be resistant to the blight, but none of the trees took. So they're gone now, so I'll have to talk more about that. It was too bad. With respect to the schools, I was at the Beecher PTO Ice Cream Social, always a cheerful and well-attended event. The 7th grade picnic, welcoming children to the middle school. And at Amity, I was there when Frontier came to award a grant of $19,000 to Amity's Media, Fine Arts, and Video Production programs. That'll be a great help to them. Wow. I also met with a very impressive high school student, Ananya Katru, who is working with students across the country to promote a presidential youth council. They'd like to have a council that reports directly to the president. A lofty goal, clearly. They're not calling it a cabinet position, but they would like to meet directly with the president. So she and I also came up with an idea that maybe we should have an Amity Youth Council. It might be a better way to start. If maybe we can get the 3 towns to agree and have a youth council. So we're talking about that. I also attended meetings, not all of the meetings, but the Wayfinding Signs Committee, which is doing very important work for the town. We have some grant money that was left over from our sidewalk projects, and we're looking at some kind of uniform signage for the Amity area, and I think it'll help create a nice feeling for the town. We have excellent consultants working on that. Tony and I have been meeting with Police Chief Capiello and Fire Chief Rowland about some issues with respect to dispatch, emergency dispatch, and that's moving along. We have an IT committee of town volunteers. Paul is doing that, which I thank you very much. And their work is going to be very important to do a town-wide inventory of our IT equipment and make some recommendations of how we can be more efficient. So all of that is going on. I also appeared on Face the State, and the topic was the state cap on municipal car tax rates, which is a very interesting topic to some of us. I'm not sure the public thought it was that interesting, but it is important. I met with the new United Way CEO, Jennifer Heath, and I attended Mayor Harp's luncheon at the tennis center. That's the highlights. Thank you, Matt.
Wow.
Okay. Liaison reports. I attended the Amity meeting this past Monday. Early in the year, of course, nothing earth-shattering. They are running somewhat of a surplus, I think $115,000 surplus, but it's too early in the year to draw any conclusions from that. They also, I had raised a question about the self-insured health insurance fund, just to look at it and see if, in fact, it's still the way to go, or should we have a fully funded. And according to Gallagher Benefit Services, the gentleman who was there, Arthur J. Gallagher and Company, it's still, the self-funded plan is still recommended because over 4 years we've saved $2.1 million by having it, based on his numbers and whatever. So I just encourage them to keep looking at this, and so that was that. Tony, just to give you an idea, the money being returned from unaudited at this point for 15-16 to Woodbridge is $220,416, which is less than the $318 we got last year. But there could be some minor changes, but that's it's somewhat of a hit to us.
It is.
But better than nothing, because at one point they weren't talking about giving anything back, and we kind of put our foot down and said we've got to. And we were able to come up with savings. So
will that money is coming in
the next
year?
It'll go
next year's budget. So in this current year's budget, we put about $100,000 in.
Right. Yeah, because we use some of it. Well, that's yeah. Even though we're not getting as much, right? We might not have that hit from Beecher this year, which would be good.
Right. So
we'll keep all.
Yes.
Of it. Yeah. Which hopefully.
Yeah.
Which leads me to my next. This isn't really a liaison report.
It's a little hit, not much.
It's more of a I got a call from our new superintendent of schools, Bob Gilbert, and he wanted to meet with me, which took place on Tuesday. And I got to say, I think we were all a bit taken back by Guy Stella's retirement. And by far, I know I got along better with Guy Stella and trusted him more than any previous superintendent. And I got to tell you, this guy is something special, I think. I mean, from I'm talking about Bob Gilbert now. From my meeting with him, I really, really do like him. I think he's conscientious. He's certainly competent. He's excited. He loves Woodbridge. He loves Beecher Road School. I'm really, really happy with the selection of the Board of Education. He's really a good person. He said to me, "What is your most important priority?" And I said 5 things. Transparency, 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 transparency. Just let us know what's going on. The only way we can work effectively is if we know what's going on. Don't keep stuff from us. And he couldn't be. I guess Guy Stella told him the same thing. So he's completely aware. I said, the only way we can work effectively together. And so he, as I said before, he said to me, there were some special ed, unanticipated special ed things, but at this point, he's thinking this is about, I'm sure you'll cover it, about a $20,000 deficit, but it's early in the year, like you said, and I'm sure we can cover it. So I think they made a great choice. I mean, I'm very pleased. We had a great meeting, and I don't know, he was here last night, and I watched him on TV. He was really a good person, so you agree?
I absolutely, I just want to say, I absolutely agree with Matt.
Yeah.
He's reached out and been in touch with us, and also last night when he came to the Board of Selectmen, he brought the principal and the assistant principal, and he really wants to, highlight staff and promote people. And, one of the things the Board of Education said when they came up with the job description for when they were looking and doing the search, and they looked at the job description and said, oh, it's Dr. Stella. And but they feel they've gotten someone with his strengths, and as well as bringing some new ideas and fresh ideas. I share your enthusiasm.
Yeah, great.
Definitely.
Okay, Paul.
We haven't met yet this month,
Okay.
so I don't have anything to report.
Okay, Karen.
Human Services, for the most part, the meeting was about going forward with changes, revisions to capital. They really want to look at that space, see how they could brighten it up, change it, and they think there's some good cost-effective solutions. And it appears they'd like to they're using the next meeting to put together some ideas, have a session, and maybe come even before to just present them, even before the Capitol, just to keep a dialogue going with the Board of Finance. Also, they actually went on a field trip to Westbrook and found a space that they renovated, and they said it almost mirrored the same footprint and whatever of the current space the seniors use. They used all grant money, but they're just trying to get a new cheerful spot and want to work with the town, and obviously they always see how closely they work with Tony. So that's their focus, getting good programming and then just a cheerful, pleasant space. They've gotten some comments that kind of dank atmosphere at times is just, not conducive to drawing people in. But they think they could. So anyway, they're looking to go forward and improve and just work together at them.
Sandy?
So I went to the Library Commission meeting on Monday, and the Friends of the Library are very alive and well. They just elected Mia Von Beeden as the president and Mary Lee Barker as the vice president.
Great.
And the bookstore is doing exceptionally well. I mean, they've really reorganized it. It's so easy to find things, and they were able to make a $6,000 contribution to the library, which is the largest that's happened in the last few years. So they're very pleased about that. One other budget-related issue, and it's not a lot of money, but it affects the school as well as the library, that the state is no longer covering internet. So that has to be found from the budget. So both the library and Beecher have to find those dollars within their budget. So when I went to the Board of Ed meeting a little later, I shared with them they're not the only ones who are affected by this. They did, the commission agreed to hire a part-time library assistant, Mark Dudka, who actually lives in Woodbridge and has worked at the library before, and a part-time page, Danielle Schwartz, also a Woodbridge resident, so they're very happy to be able to do that. The library was supposed to open today.
It did.
Yeah.
The children's library.
Yeah,
it did.
So
we cut a ribbon.
Yeah,
We actually cut a ribbon.
yeah. So the rug was installed this past Saturday, and to move everything back up there, they're happy to kind of be back in operation. They were operating out of the meeting room for a while and had to suspend a number of their programs. The farmers market was affected by the closure of the library, during July and August. So it shows you that there's really is a collaboration between the two, and so hopefully we won't experience anything like this again. But a lot of the farmers and the other vendors were disappointed at the attendance this year, and they really relate that to the library. And one other expenditure that they need to make is they have to replace their 50 chairs that they had in the meeting room. And I guess they've been talking to you, Tony, about what funding sources can be used, and so the commission gave approval to do that. So,
We just reviewed it at the investment committee,
oh, great.
and
Okay.
we're looking to use the library Noyes D. Clark Fund,
Okay.
part of to purchase the chairs.
Okay. All right. Great. And then at the Woodbridge Board of Ed Finance Committee meeting, Matt already reported that they're basically at a negative 20,000, but they really do have a nice balance between their 4 unanticipated retirements that took place, so their savings there based on salary and fringe. There are 2 special ed placements, so there is transportation and tuition associated with both of those. They were able to enter into an agreement with the University of Bridgeport, so we have 7 interns and 2 substitutes. We had a very robust program with the University of New Haven, but they actually closed their program, so it's good that there is at least a replacement for now. And let's see. The enrollment for this summer program was not as large as they anticipated it would be, even though it returned back to Beecher. So there will be a survey process that goes out to parents to get an understanding of what they're looking for in terms of the summer programs. But Extended Day is actually doing very well. Already 250 kids from the school have used Extended Day, and I mean the school just started. So I think it shows that there's a real need for this program, and the structure of it is something that really resonates. One other positive aspect of the budget is that they will be down 1 class of 6th graders that they send to Amity next year.
Oh, good.
So in terms of, they sent 120 students, it'll only be 100 students next year. So again, this is the demographics. It can fluctuate, but that should help us in terms of our percentage of the Amity budget we need to cover. So.
And I'm holding my breath for our next meeting to see, because October, they come out with the,
October 1st, yeah.
Yep.
keep your fingers crossed.
Yep. And that's it.
Okay. Item 8, designation of Board of Finance liaisons. Normally I say, is anybody looking to get out of the liaison assignment, or you want to just keep them the way they are?
I can't make that Monday night Monday night meeting.
Okay.
I mean, I'm shot by about 7:30 or
I
8
got you.
o'clock.
Okay. We'll figure something out.
Okay.
And by the way, welcome back, David.
Thank you.
That's
Thank you.
right.
We're not a board without you.
Thanks.
That's right.
Thanks a lot.
And a week from tonight, the 22nd, we have a meeting with the fire chief about the truck purchase. So 6 o'clock, be here or be square. Okay, motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.